Well, welcome and good day. It's Friday, May 8th, and it's Mayor Jeff Schielke back again to give you an update on the coronavirus impacts that are having on the Batavia community. I'd like to begin this on kind of a positive note and just share the observation that I have as the mayor of this town is that this is a very problematic situation. I've now been in office for 10 terms, and during my tenure, I've never seen anything quite like this before, and it's one of these situations that's going to take a little while to go away. It's not going to be fixed overnight, and it's going to require a lot of sacrifice and commitment and community service on a whole bunch of folks' parts to get us through this. And to this point in time, Batavia has risen to the occasion, and I couldn't be more proud of our citizens for the way they have acted. And specifically, what I'd like to comment about is that there are a number of what I would describe as kind hearts that we have in the city of Batavia. And these are folks who kind of want to do some nice things for people, but they don't want any credit. They don't want anybody to know about it. They just want to go about doing a kind deed or making a donation or doing something that makes the world a better place. I'm aware of one person in town that recently made a donation to a funeral or a burial cost of a resident that basically died with nothing. And they didn't ask for any support or any credit or anything else. It's just the kindness, and I know this person to have a very, very big heart. And so it doesn't surprise me that we have that. The other day we had another gentleman in town that called our program here that we're running called Community Cares. And he wanted to help out, and so we gave him the name of a resident in town who needed somebody to go grocery shopping. And so this individual got in the car and drove over to Berkeley's grocery store, I'm told, and he picked up the list at the woman's house of the things that she wanted, and he went over and got everything packed up and purchased. And he took it over to the woman's house and walked in and put it on her table for her. And she says, "Well, you didn't call me for my credit card number." And he says, "No, I'm going to donate this to you." And I just use that as another illustration of the kindness that this town is full of, and what a rich community we are to have this going on. And despite all the adversities and the sad stories and the many negative things that are happening, we do have this goodness of the soul that is apparent in Batavia. And certainly I know our friends at the Batavia Interfaith Food Pantry do countless good efforts of kind deeds. And certainly the Batavia Ministerial Association and all the churches in town are trying in their best and own inevitable styles and ways to do stuff that make Batavia a kinder, gentler, and more supportive place during a time of great crisis in our country. I have the opportunity, because I do serve as chairman of Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning's Council of Mayors down at Willis Tower in Chicago. I go in there probably 2 or 3 times in a month under normal circumstances. Recently we've been doing it all by the phone. But I do have the opportunity because I do have that job, and because we do have a lot of things that we do in there. I got to know, or I know many of the mayors in the area, and so I get the opportunity to hear and listen to what a lot of towns are going through. And I will tell you that a lot of them are in much worse shape than Batavia, just for a variety of reasons. But every time I come back from a meeting with some of my mayors, I kind of thank my lucky stars and say a little prayer about how fortunate I am to be in Batavia and to have this town out here doing what needs to be done. There continues to be some things that are very problematic, and I will tell you, in the past week we've gotten maybe a couple dozen calls from people who want to protest because a certain business is not allowed to yet open, or they're mad because a program is being postponed or canceled. We've yet to make a final decision about what we're going to do with the 4th of July fireworks. We're looking to do that on the 18th here in another week or so. But that, all those types of things are subject to change or alteration, just because we're trying to do the social distancing thing and maintain, the fairly good health record that Batavia has here. I believe now the last number I saw, we had 59 reported cases of corona affecting somebody in Batavia. That is very low in comparison to many other cities around us. And I just am thankful that that is a situation, but we want to keep it that way. And so we are trying to follow the directives that are being handed down to us by the state government specifically. And the state government, legally and technically, as near as anybody can tell, although I guess there's some that want to question that, is still in charge, and they kind of put forth the orders. And so I have the opportunity every now and then to offer my sentiment about what I see should or shouldn't be done, and I haven't been afraid to talk. And hopefully we'll start to see some further loosening up on specifically some of the business communities, you know, the restaurants, the beauty shops, the barber shops, and whatever, because that is a very common voice amongst the mayors in the area. That jokingly I heard one say, well, the governor last week said that we can now take the dog to get its hair cut and washed, but the human can't go do it. So I think those types of comments are resonating in Springfield, and we'll see where we go with all that. We have some announcements I'd like to make this week. Number one, the Batavia Chamber of Commerce is hosting a town hall meeting for businesses, and it's going to be done on Zoom, and it's going to be run by our very competent city administrator, Lauren Newman, and that's going to be on May 14th at 1 p.m. And if you're interested in attending that, you're asked to contact or visit the Chamber's website and set yourself up with the number to dial in on and get forward, and be prepared to hear some interesting comments and reports from Laura on that occasion. The other thing I'd like to talk about is face masks, and I carry a couple in my pocket at all times just because I try to set the example of being out. Sometimes I feel pretty embarrassed because I walk into someplace and I've forgotten to put my mask on. So if you see me come in without one, it's just because I forgot it, and I probably have the mask in my pocket. But I know several other people have told me they've kind of committed that same error, and it's just, you know, things just happen that, you know, delete your attention to someplace else and you don't do what you should do. But we do have a program now going. We are trying to make, thanks to some generous people we have in town, we've acquired some face masks, and if you're unable to afford one, the city of Batavia will try to supply you with one. And we have some in the vestibule at the city hall, and we also will accept drop-off donations for face masks if you or a family member need a different style one. If the box at City Hall is empty, you can go ask for a medical mask at the reception desk of the Batavia Police Department, which is all open 24 hours a day, every day. Also down in the lobby, we are collecting food for the food pantry, and then we move it down there whenever some comes in. And again, the generosity of Batavians is very, very nice and supportive. So I'm very proud of that. And then our Batavia Cares program, which we've set up, is intended to help seniors and disabled residents and running errands such as going to the grocery store or picking up a prescription. And we want to thank the Batavian United Way under Melinda Kintz and the RSVP program under its board, and our city employees Rhonda Kletz and Mary Walsh, who are the ones who are at the front door on this thing, who are being contacted by people and are setting up each individual circumstance. And so the city of Batavia hopefully is rising to the occasion. I will tell you in my conversations at the regional and state level, it doesn't sound like this is going to get over with in the very near future. We're still going to have some requirements on various things, masks and social distancing and staying away from each other. We're going to have to deal with, but we do see an end to it, but it's not going to be right away. I guess that's the best way to describe it. A couple of comments I would like to make in talking to our police and fire departments. The Batavia Fire Department is under a lot of demand these days for specifically ambulance calls, people having a variety of everything from a mental concern to fall or trip or cut themselves or whatever have you. One day last week, the Batavia Fire Department responded to 23 calls in one day. Now, many of you may remember, I served for many years as a volunteer fireman in Batavia, and I can remember we had a beloved old fire chief by the name of Bud Richter, who was the chief for 26 and a half years, and on the day he retired in 1974, he said, Well, guys, I think we're really starting to do something where our call volume is up to now we're doing 1 a day. And he says there used to be times when I'd be doing less than 10 a month. Well, now if the chief were here, he'd see us do 23 in 1 day. I don't know what he'd have to say about that, but I'm knowing him, he'd have plenty to say. But we do have a high call volume, but you have to be very thankful for these first responders from specifically our ambulance crews and the fire department guys that go with them, because they are rising to the occasion, and it's almost a non-stop job for the 24 hours a day that each one of them comes on duty. The other thing I'd like to point out is that Chief Dan Ewell in the police department has been sharing with me that we are experiencing a rash of identity and technology thefts and crimes, where people are trying to steal identities of you and I or whomever, and then they're trying to go online and charge things or buy things or enter bank accounts or interfere with Social Security payments and whatever. So please be very, very careful if anybody calls you on the phone and starts to ask you for personal identification information, such as your Social Security or your driver's license number, or even your date of birth and your age. Be very careful about, at least know who they are and that they're somebody solid, because there is a lot of phoniness going on right now in the technology world, and there's a lot of identity theft that's become, unfortunately, a very common crime, not only in Batavia but in the surrounding area. And again, I'd like to just pay a word of tribute to the Batavia Police Department, because they have been under tremendous amounts of stress and demand recently on a lot of it not good things. We've had a lot of calls involving mental illness. We've had a lot of calls involving identity thefts, and many of those are attacking the senior citizen community, and they specifically seem to figure out who is an older person, and that's who they try to prey on and try to get identity information away from them to do things. So, you know, Batavia as we know it today is a wonderful town, and I think it's rising to the occasion now. But as a result, we are going to, you know, continue to be challenged in the days ahead, and we just hope that everybody does rise to the occasion and steps forward and helps their neighbors and whatever, because that's what makes Batavia a very great place to live. So I'm going to kind of wrap this up. I just want to wish everybody in the community a good week, and I specifically would like to say something nice about mothers, because this coming Sunday is Mother's Day. And I was blessed to have a very great mother of my own, and she's been gone now for 36 years, so I don't have a mother in my life at the moment, but I have great memories. But I watched today all the women that I am familiar with that talk with me, and I hear all these nice things that they do, and specifically in support of their children and their grandchildren. And I have friends that I will tell you that their grandchildren are the greatest thing that ever happened to them. And they just worship the grandchildren and want to be with them and support them. And that's a great thing to see, because as I've mentioned previously on this call, we've got some really good, proud success stories of parents in this town who have raised outstandingly successful and productive and contributing children. And there's a few that come to my mind quite readily that are people that fit that bill. And maybe some of them are watching this and know that I'm making reference to them. But there is a great run of parenting in Batavia on a very successful note. And so I just want to wish all mothers a very happy Mother's Day on a kind of an unusual year with an unusual set of circumstances. But mothers being mothers, I'm sure most of them will rise to the occasion and still enjoy their families, and if nothing else, enjoy the nice memories that they have surrounding their parenting and good things that have happened. So happy Mother's Day to everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.